Hello, everyone. Welcome back. Today, we're going to be talking about rifle setup for an urban environment, and we're pretty much we're talking about like a World War III apocalypse type of situation here. We're not just talking about simple home defense. Um, so I think that the best rifle setup would be an AR-15 set up with a big window optic, right? Big window red dot with a magnifier behind it. Okay. The reason for this is in an urban environment, we can expect that we might be shooting long distances because of the way that the streets are organized. Um, when I was at my mother's house, basically I walked out with the rangefinder. I could get a reading out to 800 yards, from to the right, and then to the left, I was pretty close to 1,000 yards. The only reason I couldn't see any further is because of the tree branches over the street. And even though it was the wintertime and the trees didn't have any leaves on them, over a long distance of 1,000 yards, those tree branches kind of add up, and also the wires and stuff that are overhead add up. So that was as far as I could see. But if you're like in Manhattan or someplace where the streets are a lot wider, or in some boulevards that are much wider, you might be able to see like 2 miles. Okay, so you might be shooting distances, but at the same time, you might be shooting, CQB, right? You might be shooting, across the length of a room, which is maybe 10 to 20 feet. Okay, so you need a rifle that can do both really well, and this setup does that, right? Because we can flip this off to the side, and we got the big window. Let's see if I can line this up. There it is. We got the big window optic. I'm looking at this backwards. Big window optic that will help us get on target faster. And even if we're off, right? We got even if we're in the edge, like I have it right now, you can still get your hits on target. Okay. So, and then the nice thing is you can just flip this over, right? And now you got magnification, so you can easily shoot to the max capabilities of an AR. Now you might say, well, if there's a possibility that we might be shooting at longer distances, why not get some around that's more capable? Why not be shooting a 308 or 6.5 Creedmoor? Here's the thing: if I have the option of having several rifles or being part of a team, right? Yeah, sure. I'm gonna have at least one person in the group with a variable scope or with a long distance scope. I'm gonna have somebody in the group with a round that is that's capable of going out to further distance. But if I'm by myself, okay, I'm probably looking for something that the thing that's going to be most important to me is the CQB capability, right? Because somebody that's closer to me, right, like in the same room with me, is more of a threat to me than somebody that's like 3 and 4 and 500 yards away. Okay, so the first thing I need to solve is the CQB problem. Okay, and this optic does that really well. What I find with variable scopes is that because of eye box issues and relief issues, especially if you're going room to room, like trying to peek around corners, sometimes it can be a little bit harder to find the reticle. So this is going to prevail indoors, okay, and then adding the magnifier behind it gives us the distance capability. And the great thing about the magnifier is that at night, or if we don't think we're going to need it, we just take it off and we lighten up the rifle considerably, right? And then if we want it back on, we just get it back on. If I go with an AR that has a variable scope on it, I now am stuck with first of all, I'm stuck with that extra weight. I can't remove part of the variable scope to line it up. And also, I feel that I'm at a disadvantage being indoors, trying to peek around corners. So I'm definitely better with this in close. Now, if I'm in a forest type of situation, that might be less of an issue, because in a forest type of situation, first of all, I wouldn't want to be in a house because most of these houses are basically made out of like sheetrock. So if somebody knows that you're in the house, because if they put enough rounds into these small houses that we have out here in the country, they're gonna get you. Okay, In the city, which most of the buildings over there are made out of brick, you've got much better cover, and you've got lots of buildings closer and closer. So in the country, I think I would rather be outdoors. All right. So if I'm outdoors, maybe the variable scope might be the better option. But in the city, especially if I'm working by myself, I think that the big window optic is going to serve me better. Okay. So that's my choice. Okay. My choice for a, for a rifle. Now, why 5.56? Why not something like a 6.5 Creedmoor? Main reason is with the 5.56 I can carry more rounds. With the 5.56 I have more rounds. Okay, I don't think people typically buy 6.5 Creedmoor or 308s 1,000 rounds at a time. You probably could, but but I know I got lots of 5.56. That is primarily what I practice with, so I'm probably a lot better with it. I know what my holdovers are. I know what to expect from the round. So I feel that I'm better off working with an AR-15 that shoots 5.56 and just knowing the limitations of my rifle and working within those limitations. Okay, so now let's talk about the range estimation, because like I said, that's going to be really important in a city type of environment, because we might be shooting really long distances, right? Now, and I'm not talking about shooting just across the street, right? Because here's the thing, yeah, I mean, if you're looking like right across the street, there might only be 75 yards from your door to the door right across the street from you. But if you're looking diagonally, right? So if you come out of your house here, let's say, let me bring this down. So let's say you come out of your house. Bring this up a little. There you go. So if you come out of your house here, right, instead of just thinking about shooting that way, if you're shooting diagonally this way, right, or diagonally this way, with the rangefinder, I can first of all I can easily see 150 yards that way. Okay, if I cut my angle a little bit more, I can also get to 300 yards really quick with just a minor angle change, right? Like from there to there, I can easily get out to 300 yards, and there's plenty that I can see there at 300 yards. And if I go even more shallow, right, like this, I can get out to 500 yards, right? So just out your window, right, with houses around you at the same size, you can see 500 yards this way diagonally, and then you can see 500 yards this way diagonally, even on relatively small streets. If the streets are a little bit wider, you're going to be able to see a little bit more. Now, if there's lots of trees along the edge of the street, right, because on some streets that I tested this out, I could see that there were lots of trees. Well, that's going to cut your vision down. In some cases, you might not even, you might be able to see maybe 100 yards. Okay, so depending on how many trees you got there, you might be able to see anywhere from 100 yards, but all the way out to 500 yards diagonally, right? If there's no trees there. Okay. Now, if you're able to get into a building that's higher than all of the other buildings, then you can see considerable distances. You're going to be able to see a lot further than your rifle can shoot, right? Even if you got like a 50 caliber, you will, if you get on top of a tall enough building, you will be able to see a lot further than that rifle can accurately hit. Okay, so again, that's why you gotta know the limitations of whatever you're shooting, and you gotta be able to judge the distance. Now, one of the things here, let me tilt this down just a little bit. So one of the things that became very obvious to me very quickly as I was testing this stuff out is that it's very easy to lose your sense of distance in the city, because, for example, out here in the woods, most trees are about the same height. They're all about 75 feet tall. I'm in the woods a lot, so I'm kind of used to the tree heights. I've actually learned to measure the tree line on my finger, right? Now, if you're in a city, buildings are very different heights. So the thing that is going to be the most consistent that you're going to see like everywhere is passenger cars, right? There's going to be, even if a nuclear bomb falls, right? There will probably still be burnt out passenger cars all over the place. So a passenger car is basically 15 foot by 6 foot, right? 15 by 6. that, so the length is 15 feet. The width going across bumper to bumper on average is going to be about 6 feet, which is also pretty close to the height of a man. So that cuts down on some of the things that we need to remember. So because we can expect that there's going to be cars everywhere, okay? That's the thing that we're going to use to range estimate. And again, in cities, you've got buildings of vastly different heights that can completely distort your sense of distance. For example, I went by the airport where they had these big, gigantic 747 airplanes. 2,000 yards basically seems like 200 yards if you're looking at a very large airplane. Okay, so large airplanes, large airport hangars, that can distort your sense. So passenger cars are pretty standard, right? 15 foot by 6 foot. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna use the circle dot, right? That you saw in here. I don't know how clear the image is gonna be. There it is. We're gonna use that circle dot to range estimate. It's a little too bright. See if I bring it down better. Can you see it there? You guys know what a circle dot is. There you go. It was a little too bright before. So that's what we're going to use to range estimate. Okay. So, by the way, this is the setup that I used in order to collect this data, right? Because I basically went around the city with a rangefinder. Actually, I found a park that was overlooking a highway, overlooking a shopping area, overlooking some residential buildings. And this is the setup that I was able to use to collect this data. Okay, so this is something that you can do yourself. Just don't use an actual rifle. You take a rail, right, and then you mount your scope on it. And this is what you can use. And preferably do it on a day that that's not busy and you're not going to be seen, because people see you. If the cops see you with something like this, they're going to recognize that this is gun related, and they might think that you're planning something bad. So you just got to be a little bit careful of how you do this. But anyway, I've done the work for you guys over here. So using the 65 MOA circle, right, at 200 yards, okay, the car, right, when you back of the car here, front of the car here, is going to go past the circle, right? So the back bumper is going to be here. The front bumper is going to go either to the edge of the circle or way past it. Does not matter. Once we establish that we are in 200 yards with a 50-yard zero point of aim, point of impact, all the way from zero distance all the way out to 200 yards, or actually even out to 250 yards, because you're only going to get like a 3 or 4 inch drop. So once we establish that our car is at least as big as this circle, put the dot in the center, point of aim, point of impact. Okay, this is really important to know, because you know that this is a shot that you can, if you stabilize the gun, get the gun rested, you should be able to make this shot 100% of the time, right? You got match grade ammo, especially, right, or even just decent ammo at 200 yards. Every shot should be a hit. Now, you may not be shooting at the car. You might be shooting at the bad guy next to the car. We're just using the car, to judge our distance, okay? So at 300 yards, right, basically the car is going to come up to about 75% of the circle. So the back bumper is going to go here. The front bumper is going to come out to about there. That's 75% of our total circle. Okay, that's going to be 300 yards. That's something to just memorize. Again, even at 300 yards, these are shots that we can expect to once we rest the gun, we can expect to easily take these shots, and we can expect accurate hits. We just gotta know our holdover at 300 yards. With the 50-yard zero, basically I'm putting the dot in the middle of the face so that I drop them into the chest. Okay, so you just gotta know your holdover. But in order to know the holdover, you gotta know the distance. Okay, so if you measure a passenger car from the circle to that point there, the halfway point between this dot and the edge of the circle, 75%. All right, that's 300 yards. That's an easy hit with 5.56. Okay, 400 yards. Now we're getting more into the suppression fire territory. Unless you've got match grade ammo. With match grade ammo, I can easily make good shots at 400 yards. So at 400 yards, the front bumper is going to come basically on the just outside of the dot. Right, so back bumper goes here, front bumper is going to come just inside that circle. It doesn't, it doesn't matter whether it comes there or there or there. None of that matters. You'll be close enough. You'll be able to make those hits. As long as it's not like up here somewhere, right? If it's up here somewhere, now you know that you're at 300 yards. You're not at 400 yards. Okay, so you want to know your 400. It's basically 60% of your circle. Okay, so over here it's 100 plus. 75% of your circle, 60% of your circle, right? That's this line right there. About 60% of your circle. You are at 400 yards. Your holdover, if you're shooting the man that's next to this car that you've ranged at 400 yards, your holdover is going to be to the top of the head, right? Top of the head, put the dot right top of his head, so it's resting on top of his head, and that should drop the bullets into his chest, okay? At 500 yards, right, you're going to basically be just inside of the circle, right? So here we're outside, here we're inside. So basically, right about there. So back bumper goes there, rear bumper goes there, front bumper goes there. That's going to be 500 yards. 500 yards. Basically, you take the length of your man, cut him in half, and that's going to be your holdover, right? So we take half the length of the man, half the height of the man, put that over his head. And that's your holdover for 500 yards if you're using a 50-yard zero, okay? So it's going to be right there, just inside. So that's 45% of your total circle, okay? And now 600 yards, we're getting into we're definitely getting into suppression range. With match grade ammo, I can make good hits with 77 grain match grade bullets. I can make good hits at 600 yards. That's going to be about 35% of your circle. So the 35% of your circle works out to the halfway point between the edge and the dot. That's going to be 35% of your circle, or again, halfway between these two. That's 600 yards. What's your holdover over here? Well, a little bit more than you had before, okay? So basically, I would say maybe take the full length of the man, hold that over his head. You're mainly doing suppression fire, okay? You're going to take more than one shot, right? If you're looking to do suppression fire, you're gonna drop a lot of bullets in there. So some of them are gonna go a little high, some of them are gonna go low. There'll be a little bit of a spread. Something should hit. Okay, so that's 600 yards. Okay, 700 yards. That's gonna be 25% of your circle. It's gonna be someplace back here. Okay, so that's going to be 700 yards, okay? So, if this was the halfway point over here, it's going to be half of that, okay? So that's going to be 700 yards. Again, you can use that to make some suppression fire. You might also use this to know how much distance you need to travel. So if you're at 700 yards, you might say, hey, I need to get whatever, 400 yards closer or 300 yards closer in order to be able to take good hits, okay? So you want to be able to judge the distance, not necessarily because you want to shoot it, but so that you know how far you got to travel, or if, you can communicate that information to other people or store it for your own, for future use or whatever. So the 700 yards full length of the car is going to come to about 25% of the total circle. Basically, it's going to be pretty close to the edge over here. So if you're measuring a car length over here, it's going to be past this little line, right? You got these 4 lines over here. It'll be well past that. I would say maybe double the distance, right? From whatever the line is, maybe double. I mean, we're just estimating here, but it's gonna be on the edge over here on the inside. Okay, 800 yards. It's gonna be even closer. It's gonna be like 15%. So it might be like touching this line over here. So again, we're using this information to this is basically data collection, so we can make future decisions. 900 yards, the car is going to be basically twice the length of this line here. So you got these 4 lines going around here, and this I've actually been able to measure repeatedly a couple of times, so this is pretty accurate. So if the back bumper goes here, front bumper goes there, your car is going to be at about 900 yards. It might be 1,000, might even be 800, depending on the size of the car, because at that distance, it is kind of hard to get, but if your car is measuring about the size of the length, you're somewhere in that 900 range, okay? So that's the length, okay? So made a note over here. 2 times the 2 times the length. Oops. 2 times. Yeah, let me rewrite that a little bit in case you guys want to pause this and take a screenshot. That's what I would recommend you guys do. So 2 times. All right. So yeah, I would recommend you guys pause this video at some point and take a screenshot of this information, and you can save it for future reference. Okay. So 2 times the line, you're at about 900 yards. Okay. Now, if the car is sitting diagonally, right? What you would do is basically just drop to the next level. So if you're at 600 yards, right, and well, actually, let's go to something like 400 yards because you're gonna be able to see the car even more clearly, right? As you get down here, we're doing more data collection, right? When you're up here at 400, you can get really accurate measurements. So if you measure your car from here to there, right, but it's sitting kind of diagonally, right? So it's, then what you do is you just drop down to the next one. So if it goes from here to, let's say it goes from here to here, right, and you see that, okay, that's 400 yards, but sitting diagonally, then you just go up to 500 yards. Okay, so you just go out 100 yards, right? So I have it here, plus 100 yards if the distance if the car is sitting diagonal. So diagonal car plus 100 yards distance. Okay, so yeah, same thing here. If you're at 300 yards, edge, front bumper to back bumper, the car sitting diagonally, just move up to 400 yards. Now, there's a little bit, here's the thing, as far as diagonal, like how diagonal is it, that's why it's an estimate, right? Depending, because there's, it can be, I mean, how diagonal, is it like this, or is it like this, this, but anyway, but that's what that seems to work pretty good when I tested it. You just drop down to the next one. Yeah, so now let's talk about the front of the car. So front of the car being about 6 feet long, and the average height of a man being about 6 feet. This is gonna, this is good information here that can go back and forth. Okay, so looking at the front of the car at 200 yards, right, it's gonna go just past the bumper. I'm sorry, just past the dot. So one edge of the bumper goes there, other edge of the bumper there. That's at 200 yards. Okay. Right. Likewise, if you're looking at a man, he's going to be from there to about there. So pretty much right up to the dot. Okay. I mean, I have it down as 50% because that's a lot of times that's what it works out to. So basically, at 200 yards from the edge of the circle to the dot. So if you're looking at a car, it'll be from here to there. If you're looking at a man, he'll be from here to there. Both are about 6 feet. Okay. You're at 200 yards. You put your dot in the middle of the target, point of aim, point of impact, real easy, okay? If you're using a 50-yard zero, okay? At the, where are we? That was at 200 yards. At 300 yards, okay? Your man's going to be at about 35% of the total circle, okay? So that's going to be like 75% of the distance from the edge of the circle to the dot over here, okay? So you're going to be able to see a nice bit of white space. It'll be close to the dot, but you'll be able to see a good deal of white space over there. So 35% of your total circle, or 75% from the edge to there. Okay. Again, you got to figure out how you want to, in what terms you want to think about this. At 400 yards, okay, he's going to be at the halfway point between your dot and your circle. Okay, so at 400 yards, your man's going to stand from there to there. The car is going to be, one edge of the bumper is going to be here. The other edge of the bumper is going to be right in the middle there between the edge of your circle and your dot. You know he's at 400 yards. You use your 400 yard holdover, okay? Erase this. Okay, and then at 500 yards, the bumper of the car is going to be equal to this line over here. And the height of your man is going to be equal to this line over here, right? So, and I did this repeatedly. I was able to, because of this setup over here, where I'm not actually pointing a gun at people, I was able to stabilize this on something, and actually match up people. And I can see that at 500 yards, people will stand, will be as tall as this line over here, okay? And cars will be as wide as this line over here. So if you don't remember anything else, at least remember that, because because you might not be able to remember all this data, but if you can remember a couple of key points, you can kind of fill in the blanks. Okay, so however you want to do this, what I recommend you guys do is let me see if I can back this up just a little bit. What I recommend you do is take a screenshot of this right there. Take a screenshot of this and save it. Save this information. And then, basically, create some notes, and, you can put it on a little index card, and you can use this as a future reference. Okay, so hope this information was useful. Oh, let me also do this, because this is my book. So here's the information. Here's all this information over here, in case that's easy for you guys to read. A little bit. Okay. But what I also have on this side is if I was using a variable scope that had mils, these are the measurements. Now, if you got a mil scope, you already know how to do this, because you already know what the size of the car is, 15 by 6. So you have mil lines. You can do the conversion, but I did the work here for you guys, right? So these are the yards going over here in this column. Over here is if you're looking at the car from the side. Okay, those are going to be the numbers in mils. Okay, if you're looking at the car from the front, actually make that a little bit more clear. That's 25 right there. Okay. So if you're looking at the car from the side, that's going to be these numbers here, right? From 25 at 200. Going all the way down to 5 mils at 1,000, okay, over here. And then from the front, okay, again, now these two columns match up exactly, because front, we got the car front is 6 foot, man being 6 foot tall. You're starting off at 10, and then you're going all the way down to 2 mils at 1,000, okay, if you're looking at the width of the car or the height of the man. And over here, I also have the width of a man, okay, starting from 3 mils, working all the way down to a half a mil at 1,000. Okay, so again, you can take a screenshot of this information here for future reference. Okay, so hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I hope this information is useful to you guys. I actually had a lot of fun collecting this information. I posted a prior video where I was actually out in the process of collecting this. So thanks for watching, and I'll talk to you all soon.